front page of the Daily Nation. But Professor, very briefly, to wind up on the finance bill issue and just really your expectations, because you have a very bleak outlook of how the process will move going forward.
You see, there's a book I wrote, and one of the quotes in the book says that when you quit on the process, you quit on results. And the process to the finance bill is already not the right process, because you are being anchored. You know, now you are our anchor, isn't it? You direct the conversation. So once the process of the finance bill starts from Treasury, and you know that all the CSS in the government of Kenya are not the de facto CSS, they are de jure. De jure means that you're just there by name, but the CS is behind you. There's a shadow CS. So once someone has told you this is what I want it, they write how they want, then now you're trying to push it through the throat of Kenyans with the wrong process, then the outcome is just that no one will change anything. Remember, there's been a lot of blames that the people who are drafting the Finance Act actually are not Kenyans. It's being drafted by somebody outside. So someone from outside the country drafting a finance bill for you who don't understand the Kenyan economic context, already you have been cooked. So you quit on the process, you are quitting on results. And then the other thing I have is that I'm to tell my brother Okang, I'm sure he's talking about the Azimio opposition here. Remember that whenever there's issues like, let's say, a NADCO report where they are fighting how to get power, they can call a PG meeting, they can finance a PG meeting and have a PG meeting. But is there, in the 2023, did Azimio have a PG meeting on the finance bill? In 2024, I've not seen any PG meeting. And when they go to Parliament, first of all, they have no numbers. Secondly, the very number they have, they are dividing it. Had they had a PG meeting and someone stands up with all of the changes they want, then other support becomes easy. Remember, Parliament almost has 400 people who are in the House. If you give 1 minute to each of them, those are 400 minutes. It just cannot work. So they must have a strategy on how to confront UDA, which is Kenya Kwanza government, and they should have a strategy. I remember there's one thing which Raila Amolo Odinga did fantastically well, and this one I love him for it. When they were electing the speaker in 2007, they went, all MPs were in one hotel. They tied each other with a ribbon. They walked into Parliament and elected Marenge, and they won by 1 vote. That unity in purpose is so key in fighting this finance bill, especially if you have less number. But just sitting back and trying to say, oh, these people won't work. If it comes to the House, we shall reject in total. But have you had a counter by counter proposal? And then I'm looking at how the bill will be passed. The bill will be voted in several sections. Then you are prepared to vote, you are prepared to reject in total. So you'll just be rejecting each and every one, hoping you'll reject the whole thing. But I'm trying to tell them, let us look at the process of accepting or approving the bill and follow that to make it work. But that's making noise, they are responsible. Remember, Azimio is highly conflicted now because the leader of Azimio wants to go to AU, government must support them, and they are trying to find a way on which they can again oppose the finance bill. We saw Azimio MPs with the president in the US. So I'm trying to understand how, don't oppose, just listen to me. I'm just trying to ask myself, how is Azimio still working towards the interest of Kenyans?
All right, and that's an interesting question, Okango. But even as you answer that, we did have a Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting, which had been slated for this morning. In fact, at Status Nairobi, that had been postponed. Now, the Senate Majority Leader, Aaron Chariot, said the meeting was called off and scheduled for a later date, June 17th, because lawmakers requested more time for the National Assembly's Finance Committee to take in more views from taxpayers and stakeholders.
That is the point.
The meeting was to discuss the finance bill. Does that mean they're planning to consider
let me just answer, Prof. First of all, Kenya Kwanza are not the majority in Parliament. They have artificial majority. They're enjoying artificial majority. The majority of the membership was determined at the election. If you look at the results, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party led by Raila Amolo Odinga achieved the majority in Parliament. Number two, we have consultative meetings on this Finance Bill 2024. Be a good listener. This consultative meeting has been going through this finance bill for over a week now, led by the Azimio Economic Council, Chair Honorable Muredi. So we know what we are doing. And we know how the voting happens. We are saying, if the views of the public are not factored, because we will see it in the bill and the report of the departmental committee, we shall reject in toto. But also as we do that, we have also said we have proposed amendments. Let me remind Ogola, in the last finance bill, Hondo Pio Andai, minority leader, made proposals for amendment. Honorable Mbui made proposals. Dr. Makalu Mulu made proposals. But why is it that some of their proposals did not see light of day? It's because of the artificial majority that Kenya Kwanza enjoys in parliament. Now, second to his question, how, you know, I don't want to mix issues. I'm a very structured individual and politician. The issue of AU is an issue that cannot in any way affect the performance of opposition benches, because we know what you are doing. It's only Azimio that is relentless on some of these issues. We have said that we value the people and we value helping them. And our members are always informed of what they need to do next in situations like this.
But Professor asks, you know, a credible question.
Yes.
How is Azimio still planning to really, you know, oversight and protect Kenyans? Because in the last finance bill, we saw members of parliament come propose amendments, and in the middle of it, they literally stormed out of parliament.
Because
is that what they were elected to
the
do?
strategy is always retreat to advance. We know that Kenya Kwanza are enjoying artificial majority. They will always push their numbers. When you're pushing your numbers against a minority, there's nothing much you can do. What you have to show the public that you represent, that we have alternative proposals to what they are offering. And if they continue doing that, then you have to demonstrate that that did not work. I can give you an example. My good friend Mureu Wakili went to his people and said, by the way, we did not see this in the Finance Bill 2023, the issue of ITIMS, when it was now beating hard. Did you see that? His colleague in the neighboring Gatanga said the same thing. We are saying, Kenya Kwanza, and I know they are listening, do not cheat your people again that what you are about to pass, if you pass it, you did not read it, you did not see it. You are seeing it. Motor vehicle tax is there. If you pass it, it will affect your people, it will affect my people. Eco levy is there. If you pass it, it will affect your people, it will affect my people. We are telling the people of Kenya that be vigilant. You have given your submissions, you have been invited, but you know what? If your views do not count, then it beats the purpose of having public participation. That is mandating the members of parliament to facilitate in Article 118. That is a national value in Article 10. That is a principle of public finance in Article 201. What we are saying, Michelle, as Azimio, there's nothing that is going to stop us from speaking on these issues and addressing it the best way we can. Okay. And the best way we can is inform the people, offer amendments, but if it fails, we're telling the people reject.
Okay. And of course, all eyes will be on Parliament, and we'll be watching as that showdown takes place in Parliament. That bill is to be tabled and debated by Thursday.
Work now.
But let's move on, gentlemen, because this is an ongoing story. Front page of the Daily Nation, the top page says, respect Gachagua. Ruto censures MPs. And so President William Ruto yesterday revealed why he settled on Gachagua as his running mate and asked young and ambitious UDA politicians from both Mount Kenya and his Rift Valley backyard to respect the deputy president in the wake of wrangles in the ruling UDA party. The story continues on pages 4 and 5 of the paper. But even as that happens, top page of the People Daily there says, top men turn guns on Gachagua. All right? And so President Ruto's allies have accused Gachagua of blackmailing and disrespecting the head of state. Josephine, let me begin with you on this one, because as it stands, President William Ruto has called for a crisis UDA National Executive Council meeting on Saturday in the face of this escalating tiff between him and his deputy. What do you make of this turn of events coming, you know, right in the middle of this finance bill conversation?
So, the reason why he called the meeting was because of the grassroots elections that are happening, which is normal for any election. Everybody wants a seat at the table. So elections are never easy in any part of the world. And in this case, the president is taking those grassroots elections very seriously. And everything that is being ordered by the court, he's implementing. And the talk was no small talk. It went on for hours. And everything that is being talked about is implemented. But it's not something unusual. Everything, when it comes to elections, people start to want a seat at the table, they start to wrangle. It's all part of politics nonetheless. When it comes to his relationship with the deputy president and the deputy president, much has been said, but the two parties, you know, when you have domestic violence with your parents, you go and ask mom, hey, mom, what happened? And you go ask dad, what happened? If they have two opposing, you know, stories, then you know there's something someone is not telling you, or they're just being defensive. But when we've asked the president and the deputy president to give their statements on whatever is happening right now, it just seemed like it was just a normal clash. As long as with any other domestic marriage or even a colleague, even my colleagues, I clash with my colleagues from time to time. It's nothing unusual. But when they talked about yesterday at the Apurino, you know, ceremony, is that they said they are one, they're backing together. And even Ruto talked about why he chose this man over a younger man is because he is focused and he is older, therefore he has more understanding, and he has no regrets about it. And so did Gachagua. So I find nothing wrong.
Prof, you know, some would say that the media is sensationalizing the issue. We're reading too much into it. But the president has basically called his troops to order within the UDA party. Is this him stepping up and keeping that one promise that he made to protect his deputy?
Yeah, why? Yes and no, because what I know is that who is giving some of his younger MPs access to choppers and money to move around the country in a way that Gachagua was complaining to humiliate him. I'm sure that Gachagua was also, there's a complaint that Gachagua is not getting access to a chopper. Remember, Gachagua as deputy president is not the deputy commander-in-chief. There is nothing like that. There's only one commander-in-chief. There's no deputy there. So he has no right to order a chopper from the military. And when you want to move to places where he is going to go, he has to do an inquest, and Gachagua has no ministry within his office. So he looks just like one of the PSS, if you like, even less. So I'm sure that this office of the president needs to be addressed. And let me tell you, Michelle, I don't like discussing small issues here. Is that the office of the deputy president in Kenya, people have never used it the way actually should be. And that's what has been creating all this rift. And now Gachagua is in trouble because he went in public and confessed and apologized to Uhuru Kenyatta and the first family, and even said he misled them. Misleading them here means that he took them to William Ruto. Now William Ruto says, I've forgiven you. And I think I'm a very good Christian. I read the Gospel of Mark, actually chapter 1, verse 15 is very clear that you should not just confess but repent. No, repent means that actually you apologize. And I'm asking Gachagua that he needs to himself also put his out in order. If he means that he's confessing and repenting towards the first family of Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kikuyu Council letter said, go to him, don't talk on top of the car. Then two, he has to return Jubilee Party back to Uhuru Kenyatta, if we know, because one who brought the Sabina Chege, is one who brought Kanini Kega, those guys who took over Jubilee and is giving the party a difficult thing. So I'm trying to say Gachagua himself needs to do his part, but I'm thinking that what William Ruto did was to throw an olive branch to Gachagua and telling him, don't respond very strongly. And what is happening here is that let them come together and try to see how they can address the house. So that's a big issue. For me, the second big issue is that we are having a national crisis. We have a crisis of leadership at the moment. Because you look at the confusion taking place, and I'm sure that maybe Fred will say I'm talking about things, but these things are related. We had Raila Odinga want to become AU chair, which is a great thing. I support him as a Kenyan wholeheartedly. At the same time, Raila goes to meet Mudavadi, and they promise how they want to work AU. The next day, he's supporting the one shilling, one vote thing with Gachagua. The next day, he's with Limuru 3, supporting Limuru 3. The other day, he's Nazimio. And you find it now here, you ask yourself, who is leading the opposition and which direction is the opposition? Because then you realize that there's a time when opposition and government are speaking the same voice in a totally different issues that are tearing Kenyans apart. And I believe that Kenya needs, we need a national healing. National healing here is to heal this rift between the deputy president and the president, not sentimentally, but fundamentally. We need to look at it. There's intra-community differences. There is inter-community difference. For example, in Mount Kenya, the guys who went with Jubilee, the guys who went with UDA,
Right.
they're having all this rift that needs to be addressed together. And I can tell you that this remains a very critical thing for me. And I believe that the relationship between Gachagua and William Ruto need to be addressed so that we don't have what happened between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Because if you don't address these two people, we shall be having the president dealing with too many issues rather than focusing on what is important to Kenyans.
Let's take a look at page 10
and I want to focus.
Of the People
Kenyans
Daily.
knows that all those things do not put bread on the table, do not put medicine into hospitals. Those things do not make them feel nice when they go to the supermarket, to go to the fuel station. Let us not shift the discussion from what Kenyans want, why they elect the Kenya Kwanza government. Those ones, they should do them in their own boardroom, not in public.
All right, let's bring in Okango. Page 10 of the People Daily. And this has become part of this conversation because Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has vowed to continue with his push for Mount Kenya unity. He's asked many questions before. What seems to be the problem? So that picture there on page 10 of the People Daily seems to speak 1,000 words. How to climb Mount Kenya. And the song is one man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. But you know, Professor asks some credible questions as to who is leading the opposition. And so just the other day, we saw the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, also, you know, back the deputy president on this 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote debate. And many are asking what really this really means for the opposition specifically.
You know, first of all, I need to remind Ogola that the system of governance that we have today, the opposition is parliament, irrespective of which party, whether the government party or not, because that is the opposition. So there's nothing like opposition outside government. The opposition is parliament that must oversight the executive. So this burden of putting Raila, putting the burden on the shoulder of Raila every time opposition, that is neither here nor there. Raila Odinga is a Kenyan and eminently qualified to be the AUC chair. So allow Raila to be the AUC chair, Prof. Number two, we know, just hold on, Prof. We know for sure.
I don't have to allow him. I support it.
Gachagua, you know, Professor should be a good communicator who listens. Gachagua is undergoing what is called Damascus moment, from Saul to Paul. And on his way to Damascus, he has realized that he misled his people. If it is true, I'm not sure. And the reason why Gachagua is having problems, Rigiji, is because he actually confessed and acknowledged the wrongs did. And he said he is sorry, not only to President Uhuru, but to the people of Mount Kenya. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, Michelle. This is a principle that is advocated by those who champion for political equality and democracy. Michelle, I have seen Ruto men disparaging Rigiji, and they are telling him he's a villager. In this country, every one of us come from a village, and the Constitution of Kenya puts the village in the heart of the smallest basic unit of auxiliary development called the ward. Gachagua has been talking about 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, something that Azimio has been championing. In fact, we would want to have it 1 Kenyan, 1 vote, 1 shilling, even 1 value, as in Australia. Now, what is the genesis of this? When you vote, Michelle, there's a principle that the electoral system must comply with. It's called universal suffrage, based on fair representation and equality of vote. What determines equality of vote is the numbers. If the people of Mount Kenya believe that they are not getting their share value, they have a right to communicate it because that is in the Constitution. And in any case, the Constitution of Kenya, Michelle, talks of equity and fairness in resource distribution. I am convinced that advancing ethnic diversity is not a problem. And that's why the Constitution of Kenya demands us, when you are composing institutions of national government, there must be regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. So there's nothing wrong Gachagua is doing. But you know why people like Imani Ichung'wah are fighting him? Because Gachagua knows that William Ruto went to the mountain himself and got the mountaineers. Today, Gachagua would want to stamp authority as the senior most leader. And let's not lie to ourselves. The politics in this country is ethnically mobilized, and we know that. So Gachagua would want to come out as a leader of the mountain, something that his juniors who are frustrating him are not happy about, because if he does that, he can actually succeed in doing what Ruto did by running away with that region. When Ruto wanted to become president, he went back to Rift Valley and told them that I'm your leader. He went to Mountain and said that I'm a national leader. Rigathi Gachagua should go back to Mount Kenya, tell them he's the leader. If he's accepted, well and good. He should go even to Nyanza and say, I would want to be a national leader. As I finish, I am saying this war of chief hustler versus chief villager is a war of politics. But for us in Azimio, we are not very much interested in it. What we are interested in is how Gachagua can use his position as a principal assistant to the president to help Kenyans lower taxes. Right. That one we'll do. But we want to watch them fight. When they are done fighting, they can come back to us, the people, and tell us, in the 5 years that the people gave them a contract, what did they do? Did they lower taxes? Did they create jobs? Did Mama Mboga have a grocery? Did Mkokoteni have a boda boda? Did a boda boda have a Uber, as they promised? If they don't do that, then we are telling the people of Kenya, it will be a perfect opportunity to vote them out. Okay. The leader of opposition that is talking about outside parliament, Raila Odinga has been the leader of Azimio. But Raila Odinga is exiting. We have qualified and competent and suitable leaders. Kalonzo Musyoka is there. Martha Karua is there. Then we are saying, for us, we know where we are going. We cannot be deceived by artificial wars in Kenya Kwanza, but we shall maintain our course. Josephine,
as we begin to wind up, and Okango brings in an important point. Amidst all this politics, Kenyans really want to hear about service delivery and development at the grassroots level. Now, the budget statement will be read on Thursday by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary. What are your expectations there when it comes to especially sectors that impact Kenyans the most?
Thank you. First of all, let me just answer something that maybe Okango just put out, is that as a young person, I feel very hurt when he says that politics is ethnic driven, because at this point in time, I do not expect to hear anything ethnicity. It's the same as hearing, that politics is racist or what have you. I mean, we have advanced so much, even from the meeting in 2013 where Uhuru at Uhuru Stadium in Nakuru just concluded the tribal and ethnic politics in Kenya. That is a thing of the past. And if we're having millennials and baby boomers seated here talking about still politics is still ethnical, I just draw back to the previous election where I show, if politics is really ethnical, why didn't Martha Karua secure the most votes in her constituency when she was vying in the previous election? Nairobi is said to be a very Azimio-dominated county, but the senior most position was given to a UDA political aspirant. I mean, if we are
given, not voting. I'm happy you're using very good words.
Okay, we're not going to start questioning the integrity of the election process, but right now, as it is, the person who was voted in was Governor Sakaja. And we are happy because now we have seen a drift and we're seeing changes. And Kenya is changing for the better. So, and then when you say that the village is the most basic unit in the constitution even, I agree. But then when you start talking about one man, one vote, one shilling, so you're saying the places that have high rises and, people that are not necessarily villages, let's call them apartments with high rises and mansionettes. So those ones, the equality in resource disbursement is more important than those in grass-thatched houses.
Not equality.
in scarce populations. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If we're going to say one man vote, one shilling, then when it comes to the voting process, we'll say one vote per square kilometer. So then that's the case. I think that's just my take on page 10 of the paper.
All right.
Okay, but then now
your final comment as well. We're completely out of time now.
Okay. When it comes to what I'm expecting in the budget hearing, I expect the president to talk more about the digital space as a young person, to talk more about the health sector and the education sector. A lot of reforms have been done for the past 3 years in those three sectors. So I'd also, as Okango pointed out, and I truly agree with him, what the bill and would do for the manufacturing industry.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen,
that
we are completely out of time for any more closing comments. That is Josephine Wanjiru. She is a youth and gender advocate, and also with us in studio is economic and governance expert, Professor Fred Ogola, and KANU's Secretary of Political Affairs, Frederick Okango. Gentlemen, many thanks for your time. And thank you for watching this morning as well. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. Good morning.